Welcome to Money Ballist, a channel where we discuss successful businesses and people. Sit back and enjoy. This is a story about a beloved brand, one that has captured the hearts of billions of people around the world. It is all structured around two simple ingredients, sugar and water, but its simplicity has not prevented it from becoming a strongly desired product. Of course, I'm talking about Coca-Cola, a name that is recognized anywhere in the world. The story of Coca-Cola began in 1865 with a man named John Pemberton, who got wounded in battle in Columbus. After returning home, he, being a chemist, decided to start experimenting with ingredients. He wanted to come up with medicines of his own that he could sell to the public. At the time, a concoction was gaining popularity. It was called coca wine, a mixture of wine and coca plant that contained cocaine. He decided to use a certain French formula and add extract from the African cola nut. After developing the formula, he claimed it would cure people ailing from headaches, digestive issues, and exhaustion, among numerous other ailments, as was the trend for medicines at the time. He partnered with two people, Frank Robinson and David Doe. They had arrived in Atlanta with a printing press. Utilizing it, they could create advertisements. In 1886, Atlanta outlawed alcohol in the temperance legislation, also known as the Prohibition. While many think Pemberton just removed the wine from the ingredients, this was not the case. He actually made a new recipe also containing coca leaf and extract from cola nuts. He decided to make a product to compete with tea and coffee. The social craze in those days were soda fountains. They were posh social meeting points where people would meet their friends and talk about the news of the day and gossip. Typically, tonics were sold at these soda fountains for $1, but Pemberton decided to sell his for 5 cents. This immediately made his product stand out. Requiring a name to market the product, his partner in the venture, Frank Robinson, came up with the name Coca-Cola, as well as the iconic script of the logo. They began marketing the drink, with the first ad reading, "Delicious, refreshing, pure joy, exhilarating and invigorating." While things picked up, they were unable to break even, only selling 9 drinks a day. Pemberton fell ill and began selling the rights to the formula. Interestingly, while Robertson was a partner in the venture, he was undercut by Pemberton, who registered the formula in his name, not the company's. Robinson got nothing. However, he was dedicated to the venture and stayed on for a few decades. A man named Asa Candler heard about Pemberton from his brother and went to see him. He bought Pemberton's remaining share. Candler further went and bought out the other shares to the rights. It is said that altogether he paid $2,300, or the equivalent of around $63,000 today. With shrewd business acumen, Candler would soon turn this into millions of dollars. Fascinatingly, he wasn't very interested in the business at first, but Robinson pushed him to focus on it. Candler began marketing Coca-Cola on a large scale. He sent out coupons for a free sample on the insistence of Robinson. Later, millions of items were given away, from paper napkins and bookmarks to clocks and marble weights, all bearing the trademark Coca-Cola, thus setting a precedent for the marketing that would continuously become more ingenious and powerful as the company grew. The business grew rampantly, and by the year 1895, Coca-Cola was being sold in every state in the US. Meanwhile, some soda fountain operators had a great idea. Surely it would be very profitable to bottle the Coca-Cola and distribute it around the US. A short while later, 2 lawyers from Tennessee approached Candler with the request to have the right to bottle Coca-Cola. Candler agreed to sell the rights. He truly did not think it was a great idea, as is evident from the mere $1 that he sold the rights for. Now Coca-Cola was being sold in bottle and soda fountain form. This set in motion a trend in Coca-Cola. Even today, Coca-Cola is sold in both forms. Essentially, when you go to a movie and get a Coke, that is a soda fountain. Coca-Cola sends the syrup to the movie theater, and they mix the carbonated water with the syrup. From the company's point of view, this made things simple. because they did not have to worry about bottling and distributing. They could just focus on the syrup. At the turn of the century, they officially removed the cocaine from the drink by processing the coca leaf and removing the cocaine element. Although there was a minuscule amount, people made claims that Coca-Cola caused people to go wild and crazy and engage in criminal activities. During the first decade, Coca-Cola's popularity increased rapidly. This led to a major issue that faced them. New products started emerging that were copycats of Coca-Cola. They weren't discreet about it either. Products such as My Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Nola, and even Coke. They even copied the iconic script with a few variations. While these days we wouldn't be fooled by such products, back then people were being fooled. This was because at the time Coca-Cola lacked a unique look. At first they thought they could solve this problem by using a unique diamond-shaped label, but that didn't work. They realized they had to make a bottle that was completely unique, one that someone could recognize through touch alone, or could just glance at it and know it was the real thing. They had an additional reason for a new bottle. The bottles they were using, called Hutchinson bottles, were notoriously difficult to clean. Due to the unsterile conditions of the bottles, the drink went bad quickly and retailers were complaining. By 1915, there were multiple bottlers and distributors of Coca-Cola. All these bottlers would have to agree to use a new bottle that would be a lot more expensive. In fact, their biggest expense. However, Coca-Cola was able to convince the bottlers to put money together to design a new bottle. After presenting a design challenge to different companies, Root Glass Company in Indiana rose to the challenge and created the now iconic bottle design based off the Coca pod. The bottle became so iconic that in 1954, when the patent for the bottle expired, Coca-Cola applied to make it a trademark and succeeded, making it the first package to become a trademark. The reason being that almost everyone in the US was able to recognize Coca-Cola by the bottle alone. However, there was still one obstacle preventing the success of the new bottle: getting all the bottlers to use it. Coca-Cola had a trick up its sleeve though. They started marketing Coca-Cola with its new bottle, which was an instant hit. People loved the design and wanted to drink a Coke from that bottle. This forced most remaining bottlers to change over to the new bottle. Due to its unique bottle, competitors were no longer a threat. People couldn't be fooled anymore. However, there were still copycats. Most were dealt with, however, through an aggressive legal campaign against them. In 1917, Asa Candler gave the company to his children. During the years leading up to this, Candler attempted to sell the company, but due to uncertainty in the future of Coca-Cola, they were not able to close a deal with anyone. However, his children managed to sell the company to a consortium led by Ernest Woodruff. This pained Candler as he disliked Ernest immensely. Woodruff's son Robert would go on to lead the company for half a century. Although he was president for 3 decades, after stepping down he still held authority for another 2 decades. Under Robert, Coca-Cola boomed. He was a born salesman, had an instinct in how to make the company prosper and knew how to connect the company to his customers. There was one event that cemented their position in the soft drink market: World War II. While things at first looked bleak in the face of the war due to sugar rations, Robert organized Coca-Cola to be sent to the troops, which changed their fate. His famous objective was, quote, to see that every man in uniform get a bottle of Coca-Cola wherever he is and whatever the cost to the company, end quote. This was made possible by the then US Army General Dwight Eisenhower, an avid fan of Coca-Cola, who sent a telegram to executives in Coca-Cola requesting Coca-Cola for the troops. There were 2 major challenges. Firstly, space on ships was reserved for essential battle equipment. Coca-Cola didn't fit the bill. Secondly, during the war, sugar was being rationed and Coca-Cola heavily relied on sugar. To combat space issues, temporary bottling plants were set up abroad. There were 64 by the war's end. To overcome the sugar rationing, Coca-Cola was given a status as an essential product during wartime, as they were supplying the troops. The war may have at first challenged Coca-Cola, but through clever tactics, not only did they survive the challenges, they thrived. Being able to supersede the sugar rationing, they were able to continue an uninterrupted supply of Coca-Cola throughout the war. When the troops returned home, there was only one drink that would suffice: Coca-Cola. Understandably, to them, Coke was more than just a product. It was their support through the war, their friend, and their connection to their country while abroad. The troops, their families, and their friends became avid supporters of Coca-Cola. In the 60s, diet drinks began to appear, starting with Diet Right. In response to this, Coca-Cola realized that they needed to release their own diet option. In 1963, they released Tab. They didn't want to call it Diet Coca-Cola, as they wished to reserve the trademark for the original only. Over the next decade, diet drinks became more popular, and this bothered them. Even worse, a company called Pepsi Cola was picking up steam and was starting to pose a threat to Coke. Pepsi also launched their own diet drink called Diet Pepsi a year later. After seeing Pepsi's success in naming their diet drink Diet Pepsi, Coke decided to release a new diet drink with the Coca-Cola trademark, Diet Coke. It was released in 1982 and was a major success. A few other noteworthy products were released over those few decades. Fanta was released in the US in 1960, Fresca debuted in 1966, Cherry Coke in 1985, and Powerade in 1990. The pre-runner to Powerade was Olympade, released in response to PepsiCo-owned Gatorade. It didn't last. While Pepsi and Coke made sure to keep up with each other in terms of products, the battle for the market was mostly behind the scenes. It wasn't until the mid-70s, when Pepsi launched the Pepsi Challenge, that Pepsi took an open swing at Coca-Cola. The challenge was simple. 2 unmarked cups containing cola were placed in front of participants. One with Coke, one with Pepsi. After tasting from both cups, participants were asked to choose their favorite. Over the course of the challenge, majority chose the cup containing Pepsi. This was important because Pepsi could say that people preferred Pepsi, a marketing technique that utilizes social proof and is very powerful. The challenge left Coke with an issue. Many people now believed Pepsi tasted better than Coke. Coke still had majority of the market share in soft drinks, however they were concerned. Their response was to change the recipe of Coke. Conducting their own tests, they produced a new formula, of which tests revealed people preferred. They released what they called New Coke in 1985, thinking people would be pleased with the improvement in flavor. People were not pleased. They were so infuriated that by June, 2 months after they released New Coke, they were receiving 1,500 calls a day complaining about the change. Letters of complaint were also sent in droves. One sent to the CEO was addressed to, quote, the Chief Dodo, the Coca-Cola company, end quote. Another called him, quote, the dumbest executive in American business history, end quote. Coke's rival, Pepsi, were so sure Coke had hurt itself that after the announcement, they made a company-wide holiday and let the employees have the day off. In a swift response, the company reverted to the original recipe after just 79 days from the change. They called the original recipe Coca-Cola Classic and eventually stopped producing New Coke. It is quite mind-boggling to us that Coke would make such a drastic move, but hindsight is 2020 after all. So where did they go from there? Well, as Coke and Pepsi have battled over the years, they have diversified their drinks. The public has benefited from this greatly. If Pepsi brings out a new drink, Coke needs to bring out one too, to counter Pepsi's drink, and vice versa. The result is a larger variety of drinks to choose from. This wouldn't happen if there wasn't this rivalry, because any new drink is also a threat to the flagship drinks. If someone has Coke Zero, they aren't having Coca-Cola Classic. The same goes for Pepsi. The company is currently over 135 years old. They now own over 200 brands worldwide. They provide products to every country in the world, besides for Cuba and North Korea. Unbelievably, over 1.9 billion servings of their drinks are consumed each day. That's the equivalent of a quarter of the world's population having a serving of Coca-Cola each day. In order to do so, they produce a whopping 3 million tons of plastic a year. The company has been able to hold its market share over the years. Currently, they control 42% of the soft drink market share, and Coca-Cola Classic itself holds 19.5% of the market share. Coca-Cola have released new drinks over the past few decades. More notably, they have acquired or partially acquired a variety of companies offering new products. These include Energy Brands Inc., a company that produces vitamin water, Fuse Beverage that manufactures teas and fruit drinks, and Monster Beverages, an energy drink. I'll end off on a few interesting facts that portray Coke's unmistakable influence on our lives. Coke started the trend of selling drinks in six-packs. They popularized open-top coolers. They created the Santa that we know today. Before, there were many interpretations of Santa, mostly portrayed as a saint-like figure. Coke created the chubby, merry fellow that we know, with his red and white cloak. Coca-Cola were perhaps one of the earliest users of coupons used for marketing. Coca-Cola has made its way into local cuisines in certain places, as well as religious practices. That will be it for now. I think Coca-Cola has a fascinating story, and its history has much to teach us. It is incredible how a simple product can be transformed to an identity that has represented America and its economic success. An identity that has influenced our lives while creating tremendous support for the brand. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you enjoy the story of Coca-Cola? What is your favorite part of this story? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. We'll be learning some practical lessons from Coca-Cola's story. So hit the bell button to ensure you are notified when the next one is released. Until next time.